Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman-Schultz of Florida joins the company now. Congresswoman, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate you being with us.
Thank you for having me, Stuart.
Forgive me for digressing, but we've got a story that came out today, and I want your reaction to it. I'm going to play you a soundbite from Vice President Joe Biden speaking in Brussels about how the United States no longer deserves the title of leader of the free world. Listen in, please, and I want your comment afterwards. Roll it, please.
As you probably know, some American politicians and American journalists refer to Washington, D.C. as the capital of the free world. But it seems to me that in this great city, which boasts 1,000 years of history and which serves as the capital of Belgium, the home of the European Union, and the headquarters for NATO, this city has its own legitimate claim to that title.
Now, you're up for I'm not laughing, I'm sorry about this, but look, you're up for re-election in November. What are you going to tell your constituents about one of the leaders of the Democrat Party saying something like that on foreign soil? How are you going to explain that to your constituents?
What I'm going to continue to talk about to my constituents is the fact that we need to focus, as the Obama administration has been, aggressively on job creation and turning the economy around. That's what I hear about when I'm home shopping in the supermarket, on the ball fields with my kids, and I'm going to focus on that message because the evidence is clear that that's exactly what we've been doing.
Then what will you say to your constituents when they ask you how we spent $1 trillion and we did not limit the unemployment rate to 8%, it went to 10%? How are you going to explain that to them?
Well, what I'm talking about to my constituents is the fact that on the pace that we're on with job creation in the last 4 months, if we continue on that pace, and all the leading economists say that it is likely that we will have created more jobs in this year than in the entire Bush presidency. And
really?
That's a really important, yes, in the entire Bush presidency, we will have created more jobs this year, assuming we stay on pace with the job creation of the last 4 months. We are starting to turn this economy around. We have a long way to go, Stuart, but we went from bleeding 700,000 plus jobs at the end of the Bush administration to last month adding 291,000 jobs. That's important.
We admire your tenacity on this issue. Let me ask you about health care reform. I believe that many of your constituents are elderly.
I do have a lot of elderly constituents, yes.
You've got a pretty safe seat. Now, you signed on for health care reform. You led the charge, actually. And included in that health care reform bill is the idea that we're going to cut $500 billion out of Medicare over the next 10 years. How are you going to explain that to your constituents?
Well, actually, my constituents in South Florida, and let me just assure you that no seat is safe. If you're running for re-election, you always run as if you have a Democrat or Republican. You should always take your constituents seriously and treat them with the respect that they deserve, because they can take you out just like they put you in. But I think it's important to talk about the closure of the donut hole when it comes to Medicare, and the fact that we've added 12 years
How are you going to explain
Stuart,
cutting
let me answer your question.
How are you going to explain you're going to cut $500 billion?
And I have been explaining it this way. That $500 billion, the $500 billion that would cut out of Medicare, doesn't cut a single benefit to any senior citizen on Medicare. And that's the important thing is that those cuts are going to go to making sure that we get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse that exists in Medicare and put those funds back into the benefits that the health care reform bill will provide to seniors. Free preventative screenings like mammograms and well care visits. They don't have that benefit now. I know senior citizens in my district, many of them, who actually decide not to go to the doctor because they have to worry about the angst of co-pays and that they can't afford those. The health care reform legislation will make sure that they can have those visits and focus on their wellness rather than only going to the doctor when they're sick.
We've noticed that you're an articulate spokesman for the party and for your own position, and we appreciate you going on with us. We do appreciate it. Come on and see us again. We want to talk a lot more about health care reform and jobs. Thanks very much. Debbie Wasserman.